What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I'm here to talk about today's recent news regarding Dreams on PS4. Dreams has been out for a little over 3 years now. It's been out since February or Valentine's Day of 2020 and had a beta access period prior to that that went on for some time before its official release. And it's a game that we've been knowing about for some time, even before it came out. What we probably think our first glimpse we ever saw of it was, I believe, in 2013 when the PS4 was first revealed. And one of the games we first saw was, it wasn't titled at the time, but it was what we know now as Dreams. And what we basically saw was these two characters just kind of dancing, and what we see is two developers of the game just sort of using motion controls of the move controls, controlling the two characters that were in the game dancing. And that was really our very first glimpse of the game. And from then on, it was sort of shown and revealed a few times. People will probably remember the Year of Dreams, which was, I believe, in 2015 or 2016. I want to say it was 2016, where it was one of Sony's biggest E3 conferences, where they kind of used Dreams as sort of a blanket. Um, I don't know, I forget if they used Dreams as a blanket, but there was a lot of great stuff shown in that conference, along with things like Dreams. But anyway, the game had been a long time coming in development, and they were teasing that beta for a while until it finally happened in mid to late 2019. But the game has been struggling and has since been struggling since last to really find uh, an audience that is consistently there playing the game on a regular basis. I guess one of the first red flags, other than the long development period, is the beta, where the beta access, they made it available on the PlayStation Store, and for whatever reason, Media Molecule made the decision to give a limited number access to people who could get access to the beta or early access phase. And the thing is, you had to pay to get into it. You had to pay $30, which was $10 cheaper than what the game would launch with, which was $40. So in a way, you were kind of getting the game at a discount if you were getting the game at early access. Um, but the thing is that they never reached that threshold of those limited number of people that could get access to the game. Um, the people who had access to it got access to it, and it didn't really, there wasn't a really huge demand beyond the people who took into or bought into the early access, like myself. So I'm speaking as someone who's been there since the beginning, has been excited about the game, and has been a strong supporter and believer of the game for some time now. And I was there at launch, when the game came out. And when the game came out with its own very short campaign from Media Molecule themselves called Arch Dreams, Arch Dreams. And it was just a very short, nice little campaign that gave people a taste of of what, I guess, what is possible with the creator engine and what Media Molecule was able to make themselves. And if you look at the numbers on that Arch Dream creation, there's like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who have played that experience or that level or game alone. And so there's good there's a good idea that at least at launch the game sold not great but decently, at least more than 100,000, if not a few 100,000 copies of the game. Now, for a bunch of indie developers or more smaller time, um, not smaller time, but smaller size teams, that would be awesome to sell 100,000 copies. I know for a fact the guys in Quantum Dream who made Heavy Rain, when they made 500, when they sold 500,000 copies of Heavy Rain, they were surprised by that. They were surprised to sell any copies at all because they felt their game was just so niche that no one would want to buy it, or very few people would want to buy it. Um, but Media Molecule, they are a small team. They are the smaller, one of the more smaller teams in the PlayStation family. But still, for a game that was long in development and teased and shown for quite a few times and had a beta access period that didn't reach its threshold of the limit or cap of people that can play it or get access to it, probably not wasn't good enough or ideal enough of amount of people that actually bought and played the game at launch. And usually launch, that's usually the period where you have the most amount of people who are engaged and invested with your game. So that's really the time where you really need to hone in and get people wanting to come back for more or whatnot. And now 3 years later, as of today, we there's an update that the game will no longer be getting updates from Media Molecule themselves. So they have a thing on their website, or some information that they have linked on their social feeds that basically just says that they won't be releasing any meaningful updates to the game. Like the updates that they have been releasing, like little bug fixes to adding new tools and creation parts to the game, as well as doing these events like Hollow Dreams and the MP Awards. They won't be doing any of that from here on. And I guess apparently on top of that, there'll be some kind of storage limit of the people who are playing and are making stuff. There'll be a limit on the amount, I guess, things that they could create from here on. They call it a server move or something like that. But this is not to say, and they're not saying that the servers themselves are going to be shut down and Dreams is going to be dead in the water. But this is confirming that in terms of concrete updates, actually supporting the game, there isn't going to be any more of that. And Media Molecule themselves are going to be moving on through another project that's not related to Dreams itself, which I think in some ways is kind of a mistake because you spend so much time creating this engine, creating this toolkit, just to kind of move on from it and not really do much beyond. Media Molecule themselves, I'm talking about, like the creators have made so much and have made so much cool content using the Dreams engine. But Media Molecule themselves, when you buy the game and if you just want to hop in and just play whatever the creators made themselves, there's very little in there. There's our streams that I mentioned, and there's this other 2 hour sort of top down action RPG and bunch of tutorials and stuff. There isn't really a whole lot of actual game content for people to actually kind of sink their teeth in that was there, that is made from Media Molecule themselves. And it's just a huge contrast from Little Big Planet, which was made by Media Molecule. Little Big Planet and Little Big Planet 2 had a pretty, it wasn't like a super long campaign, but they had pretty deep campaigns with cooperative and collectibles and a level of replayability that gave people a reason to come back and play the campaign and not just check out stuff from the community. Um, Little Big Planet 1, till this day, people are still playing it, collecting the collectibles or replaying some of the levels or just playing it by themselves or with other people. There's quite a few reasons actually to want to replay not just one but two. Two was even more deep with the mini games that they added and the high scores and stuff. So to see that Media Molecule themselves didn't do so much, and going beyond that with DLC support, Little Big Planet just had a much better one and two had a much better content support compared to Dreams when you really look at it. And of course, Little Big Planet, Planet Two were much more popular than Dreams ever has been. So it makes sense that those had more support. But there's a reason that Little Big Planet 1 and 2 thrive so much is because it had that support from Media Molecule, and there was interest and investment there for people to want to come back to see what was new. Maybe not from everyone, obviously not from everyone who bought the game, but a large chunk of the people. Like I remember with Little Big Planet 1, when the Pirates of the Caribbean DLC dropped, which was one of their last DLCs that they did for the game, and how big of a deal that was at the time for the community. The fact that not only was this an actual, there was actual levels for you to actually play, but you had this whole set of collectibles that you could use for your levels. And the biggest thing, really, the biggest draw for creators was the water mechanic, which allowed creators to add actual water effect to their levels as opposed to manufacturing their own water effect by using glass material and manipulating the material to make it look like water. For a long time, that's how people were doing it. But then with that update, it made that obsolete, and now you people had real water. Me and my brother will make fun of that, like, oh, real water, they finally got it, you know. And with two, the last big content, Little Big Planet 2, the last big content drop that they released was the DC um, comics content, which again was a great content drop with new levels, new costumes, and new stickers and whatnot. And the biggest aspect to that for creators was his memory. I think it was a part of that was his memory tool that allowed creators to have the ability to save um, their games in the middle of progress. So like that, if players decided to quit the level and come back later, they can just save the game and come back to it. So there was still a lot of cool ideas and innovations happening within Little Big Planet even well after launch. But with Dreams, it just didn't really capture that same fire or that same level of support. And they were updating they like we talked about, they've updated with things um like toolkits and new little things for people to use and polishing things up and doing events like Hollow's Dreams and the MP Awards. But those were things, especially the events, were really things that really only appeal to the super hardcore that were already invested in Dreams, and it wasn't really doing much for people outside or for people like me who kind of dozed off a bit and want a reason to come back, but I think those events were just not enough. Um, and looking really at things, I just felt it just feels like a missed opportunity. It just feels like a missed potential. And I'm seeing in the comments from a lot of people saying a lot of the same things. Some people saying that the way Media Molecule handled this sort of live service type game, which in a way it is kind of a live service type game, that they didn't handle it well, and that they won't be supporting any kinds of games like that ever again. And when you really think about it, Little Big Planet 1 and 2 were probably one of the original at least on the PlayStation end, live service games because they were updating it. They were releasing costume packs, skin packs, level kits. They were like the you go those the servers for 1 and 2 are down now. But if you go to Little Big Planet 3, there's like so many things to buy and download, and that was one thing too, is that there was money to be made for them beyond the $60. There was a bunch of skins and costume packs and level kits that people could buy separately on top of the game, and all of it was optional. You didn't need to buy it. It was just stuff that it was just extra stuff for you if you really wanted it. So there was something there that developers could fall back on as a source of revenue while they were able to work on the next thing. And Dreams doesn't have that for whatever reason. And then when you think about it, and you think about it as a creator making things in Dreams, what is the incentive to make things in Dreams? What is the purpose? What are you making things in Dreams for? And for a while, I was like, well, you could share yourself in social media. And for a while, that was the sort of secondary option. Like, if people aren't playing my creations and dreams, the best I can do is really show it off on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, and show off what I've made outside of the game itself. But that's the thing, is that there was never an option, and I don't know if this was ever a goal or a thing that was talked about, but there was never an option to get those creations and somehow get them on the PlayStation Store, and that could be used as a way not only to get creators more invested and more motivated to make things, but also as kind of a self promotion for Dreams itself. And yeah, it just feels like there's so much more that could have been done. I just think of Sackboy and even Little Big Planet 1 and 2 in general. I'm like, you could have just looked at those two examples as a way for you to kind of use as a way to implement in Dreams as a way to garner some interest. I think of Sackboy, and I think of how identifiable, how cute and lovable that character is, and really the character himself was able to branch off outside of the game. People who love Sackboy have never played or just played a little bit of Little Big Planet, but they just love that Sackboy character so much that they're willing to buy plushies for him, and get whatever kind of merch of Sackboy, or check out the new Sackboy Big Adventure video game. Sackboy had a thing to him, and when I look at Dreams, and when I look at the little impy character that they've created, I'm like, why aren't you using the impy character as a form of marketing, as a form of really kind of getting those casual players that probably don't have much interest in the game, but may have interest in the impy character himself, and seeing how that could be used outside of things like merch and whatnot. But that's a sort of side um, idea, but that I felt that could have been one way that could have been helpful to the game. And yeah, it's just, excuse me, it just feels like a missed opportunity. Um, they just had the MP Awards just like a month ago, and I just wonder, I just can't imagine how the hardcore who have been making things and who have been making amazing things on Dreams feel right now about not getting the support anymore, what that's gonna do to the community, and in terms of their motivation to make things, and what's that gonna do to to the um, the creation pool and Dreams, if there's still gonna be good stuff being made, or it's just gonna resort to a lot of crap that happened to Little Big Planet once Little Big Planet 2 came out, and everyone just kind of moved over, and there was very little reason to make things in Little Big Planet 1. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really sad by it because there was a period right within COVID around mid 2020 where I was just making things, and I was just like I would just think around and doing stuff, and I had so much fun just making stuff. It wasn't like super amazing, but I was just making stuff, and I was like, wow, this is so. The fact that you can make things, certain things, just on the fly, seamlessly, with very little load times and whatnot, and to not really see that potential, and I'm like, why not at least release like a free to play version of the game? Release. People have talked about doing a PC or PSVR, PS5 or PSVR 2 port of the game, and you know, obviously, I would love to see that, but when I think about it, I think about the business realities of the game itself and how little actual interest or activity there is going on within the game itself. And yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just that